Extra.
Yeah, if there's so many safety rules, why is this wide open and why we don't got seatbelts?
Yeah.
If there's so many safety.
Yeah, she has a point.
Alright, everybody, please take your final seats, and stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Guys,
Isaiah, look at me.
Oh.
can we take on the doors? Can we listen to the rules?
Hi, Isaiah.
What went up your nose?
Oh!
Explorers, welcome aboard the Wild Asian Monorail.
The Wild Asian Monorail.
Guys, listen.
Oh wait, I gotta zoom out.
Will be transported into Asia as if by magic. We'll be visiting animals from China to India, Cambodia to Nepal.
Oh crap!
For your safety, please remain seated at all times.
Oh, there's a
Hands
lake.
and feet inside the car. Now here at the Bronx Zoo, we are the headquarters of the Wildlife Conservation Society, or WCS.
Wait, what if
We
someone
have
shows
legal
up?
guards and scientists.
Well then, goodbye to their phone.
As well as zookeepers working
This better not fall over.
all over the world.
I hope it doesn't.
Now I'm going to ask you guys to play a little game of pretend and imagine that we've traveled over 7,000 miles into Asia. This area here is called
Oh
my where we have 3 different
Why is that one just sitting there? Peacocks! Whoa!
As well as some of our black buck antelope. I'll describe them so you know what I'm talking about. The honey-colored ones are our barracks. The ones with the white underbelly are the black buck antelope. The smaller skin ones with the white underbelly. The spotted ones are the axis deer, and the pale gray gold colored ones are the Bactrian deer. Now let's go back to the beginning with the barracina. The barracina gets their name because of the shape of the male antlers, which can be quite large and have up to 12 to 14 points. The word barracina means 12 times in Hindi, and they are usually found near muddy areas or marshlands in India. Now the Bactrian deer you saw were a pale gray gold color, but they're actually considered a subspecies of red deer despite not being red. And they can be found in Central Asia, but populations have been difficult to monitor due to political fighting in the area. However, recently a researcher from WCS was able to confirm that Bactrian deer do still exist out in the wild in Afghanistan after not being seen for years.
No, that's her
The spotted deer that you saw, the axis deer, unlike most deer species, they keep those spots for the duration of their life rather than losing them as they mature. And with the black buck antelope, you saw our female black buck antelope, which were the tan, small ones with the white underbelly. We have a male. He's a dark chocolate brown with long spiral horns, and you may even mistake them for two different species. But no, it's just in nature something called sexual dimorphism, where 2 animals of the same species appear different based on their sex. Now, if we get lucky, we might be able to catch these deer and antelopes again a little bit later on in our tour when we reach the back end, but we'll see when we get there. Now, in just a second, we're going to move on to our next area, where we have an animal that was on the verge of extinction. In fact, the Mongolian wild horse, or Przewalski's horse, was extinct in the wild, and they could only be found in zoos. Recently, there have been some reintroduction efforts of Mongolian wild horses in several areas of Mongolia and China, from herds in North American and Asian zoos. You're only seeing a couple of them right here. There's going to be more up ahead, don't worry. You might be noticing some differences between these horses and the more domestic ones you are used to seeing. The Przewalski's horse has a stockier build, shorter legs, and an upright mane, which is missing a forelock. And that's that hair that falls over the horse's forehead, similar to bangs. And right now you might be seeing a horse that's a little bit smaller and a little bit paler than the rest of them. And we're so lucky to have him running right now. That's our foal that was born over the winter season, just around 2 to 3 months ago. Today we have had over 55 Przewalski horse foals born here at the Bronx Zoo since receiving our first animals in 1902. And here I have a little more information about the Przewalski horse from one of our coordinators, Jonathan Slack.
I'm Jonathan Slatt, and I'm the Russia and Northeast Asia coordinator of the Wildlife Conservation Society. I believe that wildlife has a place on this earth, and my job is to find practical solutions that allow wildlife to thrive together. Leonard Przewalski's horse went extinct in the wild in the 1960s. On a recent trip to Kazakhstan, I thought about the ongoing and successful efforts in the country to bring these horses back to the Central Asian steppe. The world needs happy stories. Watch the impossible become possible and to see them understand. That's what's happening today in Przewalski's horse.
Now, folks, we are still in Przewalski horse territory. This is their upper meadow. We just saw them in their lower meadow. They transition in between these 2 areas throughout the day, especially depending on the weather, for a little more sun or a little more shade. And sometimes they prefer the different grasses in each area for grazing. But trust me, they use every square inch of this very large meadow to run around and stretch their legs. Now we're going to move on to our next area, and we're going to be on the lookout for a very large cow-like animal known as the gaur. Now you won't need binoculars or even thick glasses like mine to get a good look at our gaur, as they are the largest wild cattle species in the world. They can be up to 6 feet tall or 10 feet long and weigh over 2,000 pounds, which for reference is about the same size as a small car. Now they're a little bit further up ahead, so just give it a sec before we get to see them. You will see them, trust me, don't worry.
It's like a cow but bigger.
Now with their large size and impressive horns,
They're the
female
biggest
gaur
cow
can fight off
species in the world.
Even
Wait,
a
are
tiger.
there capybaras in this? Oh, there they are.
The main threats to our gaur
Where?
are, however, major habitat losses due to humans overfarming.
I don't see it.
They're over there.
Domestic cows.
Oh,
The brown guys.
those are buffalo.
Just past all these trees, huddle them together. If you want to play a little game and pick apart our males and females, it's very easy. All you have to do is take a close look at their horns. The female gaur have horns that curve inward. The male gaur have horns that point straight up. And unsurprisingly, the male gaur are substantially larger than
Don't you
the female.
dare make that joke.
And I also have a little more insight about our gaur here from one of our zookeepers, Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave, a wild animal keeper here in Wild Asia. When the
See
Bronx
them.
Zoo received
Hey,
2
Dave.
female and 1 male gaur from the San Diego Zoo, it took a couple of introductions before all the animals were comfortable. But after a little bit of time, the 3 new animals fully integrated into the herd, and we have the family that you see today. A family group of gaur can consist of up to 40 individuals and is typically led by an older adult female called the matriarch. Since the 2 females and 1 male have been added to this family, there have been a number of offspring.
They're missing out on all the fun.
Bro, stop it.
So it's vital to
No running.
You're caught in camera.
You might be hearing some noise coming from a concrete jungle rather than an Asian one. It's easy to forget that the Bronx
Zoom into my
is
forehead.
of an urban environment, and the noise you may be hearing is just city traffic coming from the Bronx Urban Parkway.
I see Frieza.
This large wooden fence directly in front of us is used to reduce that noise for our next animal. So as we round this corner, we're all going to be on the lookout for a tiger. Now, tiger stripes provide excellent camouflage, so they are often difficult to spot.
Oh, good. I've been here.
They are so secretive that even professional researchers out in the field struggle to find them in the wild. So see if you can spot our tiger in here today.
Where is it?
Wait, where?
Tigers are usually solitary in the wild and live alone. So that's why you're only going to see one tiger in this enclosure.
Where is it?
And tigers have a variety of animals, but they prefer wild pigs and medium-sized deer.
Look at where they go.
Typically, a tiger will gorge itself on a meal, eating as much as 40 pounds of meat at one time. That's the equivalent of 160 hamburgers in a single sitting. So after a meal of that size, a tiger will usually not eat again for several days. And the WCS has been a leader in tiger conservation.
A lot of
And our scientists in the
hamburgers.
field tell us that there is reason to be hopeful that tigers are beating the odds against extinction. And in just a second, you're going to get a much better look at our male award tiger, Anakin, right here. He's laying down in the grass. And of the 2 subspecies of tiger that we have here at the
Anakin?
Bronx Zoo, the Amur and
From
the
Star Wars?
The Amur are the larger.
Hi, Anakin.
And if you want to get an even better and up-close look at our tigers, you can visit our Tiger Mountain. It's located just a short shuttle ride away from the monorail. Now right here, we're passing by the back end of our gaur enclosure. You might be able to see a couple of them over these rocks
Oh, see
here.
him.
Later
they're
in the day,
there.
they start to transition over here and even line up right against this fence, and you get an excellent view with a very strong smell coming from them. We're also going to pass by the back end of our Kanha meadow, where we were at the beginning of the tour. As I mentioned with those deer and antelope species, I'm not seeing too many of these stragglers over here, just a couple of back trees here in the far back. That pale gray gold, that's a peacock over there.
That was the peacock that was.
I'm sure you're seeing a ton of peafowl, and you're going to see a ton more peafowl throughout your entire trip here at the Bronx Zoo. Those ones with the beautiful blue necks and the long, beautiful feathers, those are our males. The peacocks and the peahens are the females. They're slightly less colorful. They're a little bit more gray. Together, they make adorable little pea chicks, and all that sound you're hearing when you see them spread
my God.
those males.
Look,
That's them trying
there's
to
one right
attract
there.
Females for mating. It's currently their mating season. That's why they're
Cover
mating
your
that.
nose, it stinks.
So in the coming months, you'll see a ton of
Cover
pea
your
chicks falling to
nose.
pieces, as well as those male
It
feathers
stinks.
lying on the ground as they lose out once they get to the season. And as we turn this little bend here, we're going to be on the lookout for our next animal. It has very little hair on its body, and its skin color allows it to blend in well with mud and rocks. The males have upper tufts that are run through the top of its snout and curve back towards its eyes. It's our wild pig species known as the bobby rusa. We have our 2 males out today, 1 in each pen. Now these wild pigs can be found on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. But please remain seated, please remain seated.
Where are they? Are those
Yeah, their tusks kind of resemble antlers, so it earned them their name as bobby rusa means pig deer in the
Elephant! It's an elephant!
Now right here you're going to see our next animal. It's impossible to miss. Again, please remain seated, please remain seated. Manténganse sentados, por favor. Aquí en el segundo plano, manténganse sentados. Gracias. It's the world's largest land mammal. It's our Asian elephant. Now today we have Happy. You can see Happy in the far back over there. You can say hello to Happy. Hi, Happy.
Hi, Happy.
Now African and Asian elephants are iconic animals worldwide, but they are unfortunately struggling in the wild.
Happy's taking a dump.
Asian elephants can weigh more than 10,000 pounds, so they have to eat a lot of vegetation. For example, our elephants can eat more than 200 pounds of hay and drink 60 gallons of water each day. And take a close look at her trunk if you can. There are more than 40,000 muscles in there. Asian elephants have a unique finger-like adaptation at the base of their trunk that allow them to gently pick up a blade of grass, or they can use those 40,000 muscles to tear off an entire tree branch with tremendous force. It is truly an incredible tool. And our elephants here at the Bronx get a lot of personal attention, including baths and pedicures, and that large tree stump by the pool of water that we passed was essentially an elephant-sized back scratcher. Now in just a moment, we're going to start to leave our elephant zone and move on to our next area where we're going to be on the lookout for another large land mammal. This animal has skin that looks like armor plates, a single horn on the front of its nose. It can weigh more than 40,500 pounds. It is, of course, our greater one-horned rhinoceros. Priya, now she's in her second mud wallow, so it's going to take us a second to catch up to her. That's why I spent the train.
Where's that rhino? Where is
I'll tell you a little bit more about them. So many people describe rhinos as armor-plated, but they are actually covered in
It's amazing.
holes.
Where's the rhino?
And though their skin looks thick and tough, it is in fact very sensitive and needs plenty
there
of
it is.
protection from the sunlight.
Oh, she is.
And one of the rhino's favorite ways to protect its skin is to sit in a mud wallow like the one we just passed and the one we're going to see just ahead.
Big.
And we have had great success with our greater one-horned rhinoceros. Here at the Bronx Zoo, we help animals like the rhino and tiger by participating in cooperative zoo management programs called the Species Survival Plan. Simply put, it is a plan to help these animals survive. Zoos across the world work together to maintain genetically diverse populations of rare and endangered species. We currently care for 4 endangered greater one-horned rhinoceros and have had 14 baby rhinos born here at the Bronx Zoo. And as you may have guessed, today all rhinos are considered vulnerable or endangered. Recent estimations have the wild populations of greater one-horned rhinoceros at around 3,700.